For generations, the world celebrated Thai food, Japanese food, Chinese food, Korean food. But there was one cuisine, bold, complex, deeply soulful, that the world kept walking past: Filipino food. And right now, in 2026, that is finally changing. This is the story of why the world is obsessed with Filipino food and why it took so long. Imagine a cuisine that survived over 300 years of Spanish colonization. That absorbed flavors from China, from Mexico, from America, from Malaysia. That transformed every foreign influence into something uniquely, powerfully its own. That cuisine is Filipino food. And what the world is only now discovering, Filipinos have known their entire lives. Let's start with the flavor. Filipino food does something that almost no other cuisine in the world does consistently. It hits every single taste at the same time. Sweet, sour, salty, savory, sometimes bitter. All in one dish. All in perfect balance. Take sinigang, a tamarind broth so sour it wakes up every nerve in your mouth. But underneath that sourness is a depth of flavor that is deeply comforting. Food scientists call this complexity. Filipinos just call it home. Then there is adobo, the dish that food historians argue is the most perfect preservation method ever developed in Southeast Asia. Before refrigerators existed, Filipino ancestors discovered that cooking meat in vinegar and soy sauce and garlic created something extraordinary. The acid preserved the food for days. The flavor deepened overnight. And the result was a dish so good that every Filipino family has their own version, and every version is correct. That is not a recipe. That is a philosophy. And then there is Lechon, a whole roasted pig, slow cooked over coals for hours, the skin crackling like glass, the meat falling apart with tenderness. Anthony Bourdain, one of the greatest food voices in modern history, called Filipino lechon the best pig he had ever eaten in his life. Not the best in Asia, the best in the world. And the world listened. But here is the question that matters. If Filipino food is this extraordinary, why did it take the world so long to notice? The answer is complicated, and it is important. Filipino food was not built for export. It was built for family, for community, for the people sitting around the same table sharing the same pot. Filipino cuisine never had the aggressive international marketing machine that pushed sushi into every city on earth. It never had the Hollywood moment that made Thai food exotic and desirable to Western audiences. Filipino food traveled quietly, carried in the hands of OFWs and immigrants who cooked for their families in apartments in Dubai, in Los Angeles, in London, in Singapore, quietly feeding their children the tastes of home, keeping the flavors alive across oceans. And that quiet persistence is exactly why the explosion happening right now is so powerful. It did not come from a marketing campaign. It came from real people falling in love with real food. Food bloggers in New York discovering kare-kare for the first time and losing their minds over that rich peanut sauce paired with bagoong. Chefs in London adding sisig to their menus and watching it become the most ordered dish in the house. Food travelers in Manila eating their way through Binondo, the world's oldest Chinatown, and finding flavors they had never experienced anywhere else on Earth. The Michelin Guide made its debut in the Philippines in 2026, and what the inspectors found stopped them in their tracks. A culinary scene that was not trying to imitate Paris or Tokyo. A scene that was completely, confidently itself. Young Filipino chefs under 38 leading over 40% of professional kitchens, chefs who had trained abroad, absorbed global techniques, and then came home to cook Filipino. To cook with patis and calamansi and gata and sukang ilocos. To take the food of their grandmothers and present it with the precision of fine dining without losing a single drop of its soul. Think about that for a moment. A cuisine built by grandmothers who never measured anything, who cooked by memory and by heart, who added ingredients until it smelled right and tasted right, is now being served in Michelin-recognized restaurants. That is not a trend. That is a reckoning. And the health world is catching up too. Sinigang is packed with tamarind, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants. Ampalaya, bitter melon, used in Filipino cooking for centuries, is now being studied globally for its ability to regulate blood sugar. Gata, coconut milk, is rich in medium-chain fatty acids that fuel the brain and reduce inflammation. Turmeric laced into Filipino stews and soups contains curcumin, one of the most researched anti-inflammatory compounds on the planet. Filipino ancestors did not have nutrition labels. They had wisdom, and that wisdom built a cuisine that heals as it nourishes. Street food is having its moment too. Filipino street food is now one of the most searched food categories globally. Isaw, fish balls, kwek-kwek, balut, dirty ice cream. Foods that Filipinos grew up eating on the side of the road for 5 pesos are now appearing in food festivals in Europe and food markets in America with lines stretching around the block. The world finally understands what Filipino children always knew, that the best food is not always in a restaurant. Sometimes the best food is on a stick, eaten standing up with the noise of the street all around you. And then there is the emotional power of Filipino food. This is something that cannot be manufactured or marketed. It can only be felt. Filipino food carries history. Every dish tells a story of survival, of adaptation, of resilience. Adobo survived colonization. Sinigang survived poverty. Lechon survived every occasion from the saddest funeral to the loudest fiesta. Filipino food is not just food. It is memory. It is identity. It is the taste of being home even when you are 10,000 miles away from the Philippines. The world is now beginning to understand this. And once you taste that truth, you cannot go back. So why does all of this matter to you watching right now? Because this is only the beginning. Filipino food is not having a moment. It is having a movement. The chefs are ready. The ingredients are going global. The stories are being told. And this channel, Filipino Food Stories, exists for exactly this reason. To document this movement. To dig into the history and the science and the culture behind every dish. To make sure that when the world finally gives Filipino food the recognition it deserves, the story is told correctly, completely, and with the depth it has always deserved. If you are watching this and you have never tried Filipino food, this is your sign. Find a Filipino restaurant. Order the sinigang. Order the adobo. Order the lechon if you can find it. And prepare to understand what millions of Filipinos have always known. This food will change you. And if you are Filipino, watching this from wherever you are in the world, know this. Every dish your Lola ever cooked, every recipe passed down without being written, every flavor you have been carrying in your memory since childhood, that is world-class cuisine. It always was. The world just needed more time to catch up. Subscribe to Filipino Food Stories. Because this is just the beginning, and you do not want to miss what is coming next.